when he was attacked on the subway. Now his family is speaking out, wondering why he was left to fend for himself. Magda Selassie joins us live now from Warden Station. And Magda, that was the victim's final stop, and you spoke to his family today. What did they have to say?
Yeah, well, they told us that he got off here at Warden still bleeding and confused by what happened, and that he just wanted to get home to his family. Now, this all took place Saturday morning, in the early hours of Saturday morning. The 65-year-old got off of an overnight shift, jumped on the subway at Kipling Station, and says somewhere between Broadview and Pape, he was attacked. The family sat down with us for this exclusive interview.
He kept kicking him. Kick and punch him.
Since the Saturday attack, J. Primitivo Augustine has been in bed with fractured ribs. His sister-in-law is helping him tell his story.
He's playing his game, and then the attacker just grabbed his glasses first, and then so he threw it out. So of course my brother-in-law go and get it back to pick it up, and then he said, don't fight with me, don't fight with me. That's when he started fighting. The attacker hit him. He asked help. There's another 3 persons. There's only 5, all of them in there. That's what he recall it. And those 3 people stepped out in the train. So the attacker keep hitting him. So he's crawling his body on the ground.
And during this attack, he was screaming for help?
Yes.
And nobody helped him?
Nobody helped. And then since that time, those 3 people left on that cubicle, step out in there, because I guess the train opened already. They left because they don't want to be part of them, I guess.
And he was left alone with the attacker?
That's right, just 2 of them. And then the time the next station opened up, the attacker told him to get out in the train. So what he did, he stepped out because he's worried his safety. So he stepped out, so he's staying there, bleeding his nose because he's bleeding.
He believes he got out somewhere between Coxwell and Maine, and still in pain, he got on the next train to Warden. His goal was to get home and get help.
As an older person also, and you don't really speak in English, you ask requests already for help, not even one of you, not even one person coming and help you. That's a frustration for you.
This is him in the hospital. A police report has been filed and the TTC has been contacted. The family is hoping this time those witnesses will do the right thing and come forward.
Please try to help out, because this is a community, this is our family, and we're supposed to unite together as one. That's the only thing I would like to ask to community, to help each other, especially in time of needs.
Now, Jay Primitivo says as for what he can remember of the attacker, he says he was taller than him. He remembers that he was muscular. And the one detail that he remembers clearly is the man's shoes. He says they were white shoes, and he remembers that because that's what he was looking at as he was being kicked, he said, Dwight.
Oh, just an awful situation. So, Magda, what are the police and the TTC now saying about all of this?
Well, they're not saying too much at this point. Police do confirm that a report has been filed, but they couldn't tell us whether they've made a request of the TTC for any surveillance video. And what we've learned from the TTC is that video recordings are only kept for a few days. So if a request is not made early enough, it could truly hinder the investigation. And just one final note, Dwight, I actually checked in with the family a few moments ago. They say that a detective has contacted them and they'll be following up.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Magda. And remember, if you have a story you would like us to look into, just send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. There's growing concern tonight that hundreds of Ontario teachers are going to lose their jobs as a result of the Ford government's plan increase the class sizes. Lisa Shing joins us live now from Queen's Park. And Lisa, the government is saying there won't be any jobs lost, something the opposition is now taking issue with.
Right, so the opposition is pretty emphatic that there will be fewer teachers in classrooms, even if none are actually laid off. They say bigger class sizes ultimately affects the quality of education. And we went to students today in high school to see what they think, and they seem to agree.
Outside Harbert Collegiate, we asked students for their take on larger class sizes. That means there's not as much one-on-one help with teachers.
They're not really thinking about the students as much as they're thinking about money.
It's just better to work in a classroom where there's less people because it's easier to have conversations and discussions.
Starting next fall, high school class sizes are going up from an average of 22 students per class to 28. During the announcement last week, Ontario's education minister promised,
"Our strategy will not see one teacher lose their job."
Today, a bit of a tweak to that message.
There will be no involuntary job losses.
Lisa Thompson says that means positions will be eliminated through retirements and resignations.
We have to take a look at where we measure up with other jurisdictions across Canada.
Ontario's secondary teachers estimated 3,600 jobs will disappear. Toronto's public board said that's more than 800 in its schools alone. The NDP wore black in the House today in support of the many teachers who did the same.
If a teacher retires and that job is not filled, that's a job loss.
What's most important, though, is going to diminish the quality of our children's education.
Although kindergarten class sizes will stay the same, Thompson would not confirm if the province will replace kindergarten teachers with early childhood educators.
There's no stone unturned at this stage of the game, and we were reviewing all of our options.
And for those who missed the Friday's announcement, the province also said parents could opt out of the sex ed portion of the health curriculum. Instead, parents will be provided with an online module to help guide them through discussions with their children. Dwight.
Lisa, the province promised no involuntary job losses, so how's it going to make sure of that?
Well, I asked the minister's office today, and it said it's planning on giving school boards $1.6 billion over the next 4 years to do what they call essentially attrition protection. It sounds like it's essentially buying teachers out, but they wouldn't really confirm any details with me. But I'm pretty sure that we will be finding out more details in the budget on April 11th.
Thank you, Lisa. And it's a sign of disunity among Doug Ford's progressive conservatives. An MPP who was just booted from the party caucus is now fighting back. Randy Hillier is alleging that backroom officials close to the premier orchestrated his removal. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the details.
For 12 years, Randy Hillier was a staunchly partisan progressive conservative. The Eastern Ontario MPP is now lashing out at the party brass over his expulsion from caucus. In this open letter, Hillier launches a broadside, listing 10 reasons why he believes he was ousted and blaming some of Doug Ford's closest political aides. Hillier says those responsible for pushing him out are Ford's chief of staff, Dean French, and Ford's campaign strategist, Chris Froggatt.
His comments in his letter are absolutely and categorically false.
Hillier says he was kicked out because he refused to get permission to speak with the media. Ford's spokesman says that's false. Hillier also says he was turfed for refusing to give routine standing ovations. Ford's office says that's false too. Hillier's most serious claim, that he was booted for raising concerns about possible illegal and unregistered lobbying by close friends and advisors of the premier. Ford calls that an outright lie.
What possibly illegal and unregistered lobbying has been happening behind closed doors with this government?
The NDP wants to call in the cops.
The OPP should be the body that investigates it to find whether those allegations are warranted.
Although he's gone from the PC party, Randy Hillier remains the MPP for his riding of Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston. He was not here in the legislature today, and he did not respond to a request for an interview. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney is apologizing tonight for calling an Ontario MPP a little girl.
Croyez-moi, c'est elle qui défend les femmes. La petite fille qui a démissionné, là, elle est partie.
That was Brian Mulroney speaking last night on a popular Radio Canada show. He made the comments about then Gary Prescott Russell MPP Amanda Simard. Simard left the PC caucus to sit as an independent over the party's francophone policies. Mulroney was speaking in defense of his daughter, Caroline, who is Ontario's francophone affairs minister.
I think we need to support women in politics and not retort to those types of name-calling.
Mulroney issued a statement this afternoon apologizing for his choice of words, saying he should have referred to Simar as a, quote, young woman. Police say a suspicious package found at Broadview Station during the morning commute was left there on purpose.
Upon further examination of the package, the officers made a decision to evacuate the immediate area for public safety and notified our specialty units to come for a further examination of the package.
Police were called to the station around 6:30 a.m. The investigation suspended service on the subway, bus, and streetcar to and from the station for about 5 hours. The TTC ran shuttle buses along that section of Line 2. Police also closed the street down as a precaution. The package was deemed not hazardous with no threat to public safety. Investigators are now trying to track down the person who left it there. We are getting a look tonight at the damage caused by a fire at Pearson Airport. Flames broke out inside a duty-free shop at Terminal 1 Sunday night. Now, investigators were on scene today assessing the damage. The fire sent smoke drifting throughout the terminal. All flights to the U.S. from Terminal 1 were canceled. We talked to one traveler today who says there was a lack of communication from airport officials.
Worst trip of my life so far, yeah, I would say, because I've never been like that long in the airport. I also had my flight canceled like on my way into Canada due to the storm in the U.S. But again, so that was bad. This is the worst. Again, I wish that at least they had a better system in to help people with all their frustration.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Pearson officials tweeting late this morning that operations have now returned to normal.
I'm Adrian Chung in Bolton, right next to the Humber River, which flooded over this weekend, turning the streets into rivers. And it's all because of those massive ice jams that clogged the waters. Now residents are cleaning up. We'll have all the details coming up.
Colette is back. We just saw Adrian there standing by the Humber. I'm going to say that ice fishing season is over, Colette.
Yes, officially it is done. We can say good riddance to that. Yeah, with all that ice damming, those ice jams had me wondering about Lake Ontario and where we're at now. I know there's not much ice coverage left, but let me just bring you up to date here and share with you where we are with the ice coverage and the peak of where we were this year. So that came just near the end of February, where nearly 40% of the lake frozen. Then just less than a week later, March 1st, we were at 30%, so 10% melted off. And then as of today, all the way down to just about 8%. So you can see that's some significant melting. And if you're wondering, how does that compare to last year? Well, the peak coverage last year was only 25% frozen compared to the 40% of this year. And on this day last year, 2018, only 3% was left. So we're seeing the end of it. We're getting to the end of it there, but certainly we have some more problems with our tributaries and some of those rivers there. A look at what happened today. A little bit of a light snow shower kind of passing through. We didn't see much, and then the sun was out. So it was one of those kinds of days. And we have that tonight, too, with a very weak trough passing through. We'll see a little bit of a dusting of light snow trace, nothing more than that. The temperature currently 2 degrees. The winds have been kind of gusty from the northwest, but the sustained winds, those are starting to ease back. We do still have a wind chill in terms of how it really feels, but it's not too significant. It's certainly feeling a little more mild. As that disturbance goes through tonight, that's where we'll get a little bit of flurry activity. And I'll have to tell you that tomorrow towards those afternoon hours, another bit of instability means we could have the odd little shower passing through, but we're not going to see too much. And we've got some milder temperatures coming up, Dwight, that I'm going to tell you all about, and the first day of spring, too.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you, Colette.
No problem.
A shooting inside a tram today sent the Netherlands into its highest terror threat level. At least 3 people were killed in the city of Utrecht, and another 5 people were injured. Thomas Degelen now with more from the scene.
It was shortly after the morning rush hour when police say a man opened fire at a streetcar station here away from central Utrecht. Then he took off, leading police on a day-long manhunt. Authorities put out this image of a 37-year-old Turkish-born suspect, Gökmen Tanish. Police told the public to get in touch if he was spotted, but not to approach him. Now, investigators didn't immediately call this a terrorist attack. They said it possibly could be, but authorities still raised the terror threat to its highest level in this region. Authorities looked for the man. Schools were closed, and they told the public to stay indoors. The Dutch Prime Minister said the country had been in disbelief and disgust after this attack. Keep in mind, the Netherlands has not suffered the same wide-ranging or high-profile terrorist attack that other nearby countries have suffered in recent years, such as Belgium, Germany, France, and Britain. This evening, police said they had found and arrested their suspect, and authorities said he had been known to them, but they're still keeping an open mind as to the motive. Investigators said that it could be due to what they called family reasons. Still, this attack has sent shockwaves through this country at a time when terrorism is once again on the minds of many. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Utrecht, the Netherlands.
In New Zealand, Muslim worshippers have returned for the first time to the mosques where last week's massacres took place. Dozens of people gathered outside the Al Noor Mosque for prayers. It's where a gunman murdered 42 people on Friday before killing 8 others at another location. More than 30 victims are still being treated in hospital, some in critical condition. The New Zealand government has announced a public memorial but has not set a date yet. It's also paying for funerals and even international travel costs for victims' families. In the House of Commons today, the Prime Minister offered condolences to the families of the victims in New Zealand. But Justin Trudeau also called on world leaders to unite in denouncing hatred against immigrants and violence stemming from nationalism.
We can take a stand here and now in Canada and around the world and say that enough is enough. That the days of spewing hatred and inciting violence without consequences are over. We owe it to the people of Christchurch. We owe it to the people of Saint Foy and of Pittsburgh and of Manchester. Mr. Speaker, we owe it to our kids and we owe it to ourselves. I'm calling on like-minded.
The Privy Council Clerk of Canada is retiring. Usually not big news, if not for Michael Wernick's role in the SNC Lavalin affair. What he had to say as he left his job and why he's leaving, coming up. The woman who killed a stranger in a downtown drugstore has been ordered detained in a mental health hospital. The Ontario Review Board ordering Rohini Bisasar be held because she remains a significant threat to the public. Bisasar was found not criminally responsible last year for the 2015 stabbing death of Rosemary Jr. in a Shoppers Drug Mart in the Pass system. The review board saying Bisasar lacks insight into the crime and considers herself a victim of her schizophrenia. Peel police have made a third arrest in the case of a murdered Hells Angels bike gang member. 32-year-old Michael Diabachu Schlood was shot outside a Mississauga boxing club last Monday. 2 men were arrested in Montreal the following Wednesday. 38-year-old Joseph Pallotta was wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for first-degree murder. He surrendered to police yesterday in Montreal.
Astounding Andreescu.
Young tennis players in Canada have a new role model to look up to. I'm Greg Ross at the Aviva Centre in Toronto, where 18-year-old Bianca Andreescu has spent countless hours preparing for her big moment yesterday. We'll have more on her win from Indian Wells coming up.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
astounding Andreescu. One of the most astonishing performances at a tournament from an 18-year-old you will ever see.
That's the moment the Canadian team made history at the Indian Wells Open. Bianca Andreescu is the first wildcard entry to ever win the title and also one of the youngest to do so. As Greg Ross tells us, people here on her home court are not surprised by her big win.
I'm the, can I say the F word? No, I can't. The effing champion of Indian Wells. It's...
Bianca Andreescu was still in a bit of shock after capturing her first WTA Premier Championship Sunday, but it wasn't a huge surprise to those who know her well.
She was acting like a professional since she's 14 years old.
Andre Labelle is the national coach for Tennis Canada's junior training program in Toronto and worked with Andreescu from 2015 until last year. He says he was most impressed by the level of confidence she displayed all week, knocking off opponents with far more experience, including three-time Grand Slam champion Angelique Kerber.
To go and show Kerber that she wants the title more than her, I mean, that was incredible.
Labelle points to one moment in the match that may have put her over the top.
I can barely move out there.
Yeah, you know how strong you are. You know how strong you are mentally and physically.
Trailing 3-2 in the final set, Andreescu is experiencing pain in her feet and seems to have reached her breaking point until this pep talk from her coach, Sylvain Bruno.
You welcome competition.
I want this so bad.
Okay, that's good.
Sometimes you need that voice to help remind you of those things that'll keep you pushing through to the end.
University of Toronto professor Catherine Tamminen has a PhD in sports psychology. She says the coach said all the right things in that moment.
Her coach really did a great job in reframing, in refocusing her attention and saying, this is adversity, this is a time to push through adversity.
But Tamminen says it also says something about Andreescu's mental strength, not only to be able to overcome the adversity, but to do it on such a big stage against one of the game's best.
I think that to be able to withstand all of those pressures and to be able to perform consistently at that level is really impressive. It's not something that you just switch on once you get there. It's likely something that is sort of been consistently developed throughout her tennis career so far.
Andreescu started this season ranked 152nd in the world. Her goal was to crack the top 100 before the end of the year. After yesterday's win, she's now ranked 24th. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
It came right up to the edge of the house. I've lived here for 26 years, and that's the first time the water's come up that high.
Cleanup time in Bolton. This weekend saw major flooding. Coming up, the lessons learned and when dozens of residents will be able to return home. We are getting a first-hand look at the damage caused by flooding in Bolton. Dozens of homes and apartment building had to be evacuated over the weekend. As Adrian Chung reports, some residents are questioning how the town and conservation authorities have handled the problem.
The sump pumps are working overtime. Nearly everything and everyone in Bolton has had to, as they clean up their flood-ravaged basements and homes. This resident lives less than 50 meters from the Humber River.
It came right up to the edge of the house, through that window well. I've lived here for 26 years, and that's the first time the water's come up that high. The water was up to around about here on the furnace, so all this stuff is all junk.
This is completely ruined now.
Yeah.
His tenant says she's lost family heirlooms and pictures.
Stuff that's not easily replaced, but you know, I think really we got off way easier or luckier than a lot of people did.
Ice jams were reported all along the Humber River on Friday night. Within a matter of hours, the waters had risen over 5 meters. 300 homes had to be evacuated.
The fire department says the water has since come down about 2 meters since it peaked on Saturday, but check out this tractor. You can see exactly where the high water mark was right before it froze over.
This drone footage shows how far the waters ran. This area of Bolton is a floodplain, causing all the spillage from the river to pool around the homes. The mayor says this is the largest flood in decades.
We knew it was happening. We had the apparatuses, you know, everybody was on standby. We were able to activate everybody quickly. What maybe slowed it up a little bit too is we're working in the evening.
8 homes are still evacuated. The mayor says all residents could be allowed back in by Wednesday. Adrian Chung, CBC News, Bolton.
And Colette, as the melt continues, things might even get worse for some people.
Yes, that's right, Dwight. I was looking at that because now the concern will be, okay, are we going to see any additional precipitation? Yes, there's a chance, especially towards midweek, of being something significant for that area, and also milder temperatures, so additional melt in the upcoming forecast. So this is going to be a week to really carefully be watching things through that area. The current temperatures for us out there at the moment, we're sitting at 2 degrees here, not only in Toronto, for those of you watching from Hamilton, 2 degrees there as well. A little bit of a jitter there on our satellite imagery. That's just Virga, so it's not real activity that we are seeing there, just being picked up by the waves. But we had some light snow showers that passed through earlier today, then got into a bit more sunshine, saw some of those clouds recede. And now through these overnight hours, we have a weak disturbance that's going to move through. It doesn't have a lot of lift with it. There's not much moisture, but a little bit of a dusting of snow is possible from this one through the overnight hours tonight. And then as we head through tomorrow afternoon, still some of that instability. We have a chance at seeing the odd passing shower or a little burst of some flurries coming through again. In both cases, that will be lighter stuff. That's not the stuff I'd be concerned about for the Bolton area. It's what's happening after that. As we get into Wednesday, the day starts off very nicely. We'll have sunshine, then clouds will build, and then this next system that moves in, it will be gone by Thursday morning. However, Wednesday night and through the overnight, some mixed precipitation moving through for the lakeshore, closer to the lakeshore in the GTA, mostly showers and then a little bit of a mix. As that system comes in, we are going to see some more significant winds coming in from the south to southwest, however, so it gets a little bit breezy late Wednesday into Thursday. But that's actually going to help pick the temperatures up on what will be the first day of spring. Overnight tonight, this is your forecast. -3 degrees we're looking at, feeling like -6. Those winds easing off from where they were today. A chance of a passing shower, a little bit of a mix tomorrow, kind of midday into the later afternoon. Winds, though, lighter out of the south and highs of 5 to 6 degrees. This time of year, we should be almost to 5 degrees. So actually, a little bit above seasonal. And they get better from there as we go to Wednesday, 8 degrees for the high. Spring comes in at 5:58 p.m. on that day. And then looking ahead, quieter conditions towards the end of the week. And Dwight, it does look like we'll see more of a warm up, hey, for the weekend.
Look at that, Saturday looking good. Thank you, Colette.
Yeah, you're welcome.
As you just heard Colette say, the official start of spring is just days away, a time of year many people plan to buy new tires. One BC man is on a mission to caution his fellow drivers. He's going public after his battle with a tire giant that refused to make good on a warranty. Erica Johnson has his story.
Gerald Renault takes pride in looking after his car. A few months ago, he took a close look at his tires.
And I'm going, there is no tread on these tires. So I thought this just isn't right.
So you only have about 30,000 clicks on here.
That's correct.
30,000 K on his tires. His mileage warranty was for 112,000. He submitted a claim, but the tire company, Continental Tires, rejected it.
They gave me nothing.
Continental pointed to tread wear measurements, differences of about 1 millimeter on each tire. In a statement, Continental said measurements showed uneven wear, suggesting improper operation or maintenance, and making the mileage warranty inapplicable. Continental's statement didn't specifically address why its customers' tires wore out at 30,000 kilometers instead of 112, but did say it's difficult to precisely predict tire mileage due to things like road conditions, vehicle maintenance, and driving habits.
I'm not a young kid that spins tires and drag races other vehicles and stuff. I just drive from my home to work and back.
This auto expert says mileage warranties offered by all the major tire manufacturers are just a marketing tool.
A tire warranty for mileage is primarily there to give you a warm, fuzzy glow when you buy your tires. It's not actually a reliable indicator of how long the tire will last.
He says tire companies create their own guidelines for mileage warranties, and that's a problem.
You need a third party to be doing the certification or to maintaining a standard. It would be better if everyone were playing by the same rules and the prediction then was reliable.
Canada's Tire Industry Association told Go Public that new rules are being developed in the U.S. and Canada will likely follow suit. In the end, Gerald Renault drove away with 50% off a new set of tires, but only because a manager at Canadian Tire said he felt badly that Continental's tire warranty fell flat. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Toronto police are asking for the public's help identifying and finding a man wanted for sexual assault. Investigators say a woman was walking in the area of Beloil and Pailton near Yonge and Davisville when she was sexually assaulted. The man ran west on Beloil afterwards. He's described as around 6'1", with a dark brown goatee and a rounded back with poor posture. If you think you know who this is, investigators would like to hear from you. Students pushing for more mental health resources at the University of Toronto held a protest today.
I'm here because unfortunately I lost a friend who went to school with me last year to suicide, and I'm here to hopefully awaken the university that this is a systemic issue that needs to be addressed and there needs to be more services available to those who are struggling with mental illness.
The silent protest by dozens of students happening outside the U of T president's office. It was organized after the apparent suicide death of a student on the weekend. Students say this is the third suicide at the school recently. They're asking for increased hours for mental health care, more care staff, and more events that bring students together and prevent isolation. It's been more than a week now since an Ethiopian Airlines flight crashed, killing all 157 people on board. 18 of them were Canadian. 6 of those from one Brampton family. Susan Ormiston was in Ethiopia as their relatives visited the crash site.
Manant and Harol Vidia left Toronto yesterday on an overnight flight here. They haven't slept much in a week. 6 of his family were killed, his parents, a sister, a brother-in-law, and 2 nieces from Brampton. Refusing to rest, they board a bus in Addis Ababa for a 2-hour ride to the crash site, believing they will find something by coming here.
I'm still terrified. I cannot believe that my parents, my sister, my brother-in-law and my nieces are no longer with me.
His family was headed to Mombasa, Kenya, where his sister was born, on a family vacation, which tragically ended here. The Vidias pray for their souls. This pilgrimage, repeated hundreds of times this week, is a bit different each time, but the visits are getting shorter. After traveling 11,000 kilometers, the couple gets only 6 minutes here, barely time to register, before they're asked gently but firmly to leave.
So there's always like a bit of hope, but like coming to this site is getting closer to the fact that they are no longer in this world. So that is really getting difficult for me to accept.
An uncle plays a Hindu prayer song, which speaks to the body being gone, though the soul is not. But Vidya wants desperately to reclaim some of his family's bodies. It's his sole motivation.
Even though like the bodies are gonna be in the bad shape, we are willing to go there and get some closure, because it's always gonna be.
For now,
I collect soil right now because I don't have anything to collect. I can't find anything. I just took some soil that will help for our religious purpose.
They'll keep pressing, even though no one, it seems, has received any remains yet. Another part of acceptance. In the week since that crash, this place has changed dramatically. The circumference has gotten so much smaller. They've put up a wooden fence with barbed wire as it evolves into a more permanent memorial. We've seen hundreds of people come here, grieving in their own different ways. But the one thing that's universal is that desire to leave here with some family remains. And that's not going to happen soon. The airline says it could take up to 6 months to do DNA matching, which means they'll leave here with only a bag of dirt from this tragic place. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, near Bishoftu, Ethiopia.
It may not have been gale force winds of change that blew into Ottawa as MPs returned to work on the Hill today, but it was certainly a series of strong gusts. Our senior parliamentary reporter, Julie Van Duzen, has been watching developments for us. Julie, let's start with this one-person cabinet shuffle. What can you tell us about Joyce Murray?
Well, Joyce Murray is certainly well known amongst Liberals. She's been the MP for Vancouver Quadra since 2008. She has vast experience in BC's provincial politics. She was a minister there under Gordon Campbell, and she ran against Justin Trudeau for the leadership in 2013 and came second. So within the party, she's certainly very well known, and also as an environmentalist. So she's had some angst over the expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline, and she's expressed her concerns publicly. So today when she was sworn in, she was certainly asked about that. How is she going to square her concerns about the pipeline with the fact she's now in cabinet? But she said some of her concerns certainly have been addressed, one of them in particular about consulting First Nations. So she said she's a lot more comfortable. So take a listen.
My job as a member of parliament actually is to represent my community, and I did that on the issue of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. And it's the job of the cabinet and the Prime Minister to make a decision that is in the interest of all Canadians.
And now, Julie, to some more surprising news. The most senior public servant is out.
That's right. Michael Wernick, who is Canada's top bureaucrat, another casualty of this SNC-Lavalin affair. He quit today. He cited recent events. And if you recall, he made his appearance at the Justice Committee twice, and certainly he said that he had never issued inappropriate pressure on Jody Wilson-Raybould to help SNC-Lavalin avoid criminal prosecution. She said the complete opposite. So certainly jarring testimony on that front. And tomorrow the Justice Committee will be meeting behind closed doors, and the Liberals will be under pressure to bring back Jody Wilson-Raybould to deal with the contradictions between her testimony and Michael Wernick's, and Gerald Butts, the former principal secretary to the Prime Minister. So I asked some MPs on their way to work this morning what they thought of the SNC-Lavalin affair and where it's at, so take a listen.
Canadians believe Ms. Wilson-Raybould, and given all what we've heard, it really just points to why we need a public inquiry.
We set a dangerous new precedent where it is appropriate for the Prime Minister to interfere in a criminal trial.
I've spent a fair bit of time in the U.S. lately. When they have a scandal, they have a scandal. We're saying a bit of a misunderstanding in Canada. We call that a scandal. Come on.
So meanwhile, Dwight, the Prime Minister made an appointment today on this whole issue. Anne McClellan has been tasked to look at whether Attorney General the portfolio should be divided from the Justice portfolio. There's been some calls along that front in the past few weeks. And, you know, tomorrow, don't forget, the budget will be tabled. So it is possible, I repeat, possible, that maybe this controversy could get sidelined, at least temporarily, when Bill Morneau tables the budget tomorrow.
Senior reporter Julie Van Duzen in our Parliamentary Bureau in Ottawa. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
And we will have live coverage of the federal budget on CBC News Network tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m. with an early edition of Power and Politics and continuing at 4 p.m. with the National's Rosemary Barton.
Hey, I'm Yelena Adzik on the red carpet for the movie screening of Dumbo. I'm going to give you a little look at this gentleman over here, Danny DeVito. He's going to be chatting with us just coming up next, so stick around. We're going to talk about how this role attracted him and why it's so different from the original. Stick around.
This weather update is brought to you by Fairmont Le Chateau Frontenac, the best location for your next spring break getaway in Quebec City.
You can do it, Dumbo. Show him. Fly, Dumbo. Fly.
The new live-action Dumbo hits theaters next week, but some Torontonians are getting a sneak peek tonight. Tim Burton directed this reimagining of the 1941 cartoon. It stars Colin Farrell and Danny DeVito. Yelena Adzik is live on the red carpet at Scotiabank Theatre right now. And look at her, she's just hanging out with Danny DeVito. Is she just there really hanging out with Danny DeVito? Take it away, Yelena.
Hey there, Dwight. Yes, Danny DeVito knows that we're live. He was just doing the
How
count.
you doing? We're counting down over here. Any minute now, the balloons are going, baby.
Dwight, that was for you. Danny, yo, Dwight Drummond, Danny DeVito, Double D.
Nice
Something's
to meet
going on
you.
here. Yeah, yeah.
And Dumbo.
And Dumbo, what is happening? Listen, we want to talk about this movie because this is, 1941. These are some troubled times. The original movie, obviously, it was derided for racism. It was derided for animal cruelty, all of these kinds of
Well,
things.
we fixed all that in this movie. This is like got all the good stuff from the 1941 masterpiece that Disney made, with all the good values of the values of caring for each other, looking out for one another, recognizing the fact that there people are different, they're individual, and they have to embrace their strengths, what they think may be their weaknesses, like Dumbo's big ears, and look at them. There's the xenophobia that we all have been experiencing lately. This is we dealt with this in a big way in Dumbo, and I think it's great for adults and great for kids. They're going to be able to open up that dialogue. Why was Dumbo, you know, the way he is?
Now, when you were growing up, what was
Can we believe we lost Yelena with my close personal there, Danny DeVito? We'll see if we can get back to that red carpet. They're having a lot of fun out there. To the Junos now. Shawn Mendes dominated the 2019 Juno Awards this weekend, taking home 5 of the 6 awards he was up for, including Artist of the Year.
Thank you, everybody. The first time we
Mendes wasn't there, but the Arkells were, taking home 2 Junos this year. Other winners include Bulo for Breakthrough Artist, Brett Kissel for Country Album, and Jesse Reyes for R&B. Among those on stage, Sting and David Foster. And a highlight for many, Corey Hart singing his 80s hit. See it right there, Sunglasses at Night, after being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, the Junos briefly took a political turn while accepting an award. First Nations artist Jeremy Dutcher urged the Prime Minister to do better in addressing problems that plague Indigenous communities.
Mr. Trudeau, a nation-to-nation relationship does not look like pipelines. A nation-to-nation relationship does not look like sending militarized police force into unceded territory. And a nation-to-nation relationship does not look like, in 2019, our communities still on boiled water advisory.
Dutcher was cut off by the Junos' 60-second countdown, but at the end of Saturday's show, rockers, the Arkells, called him back to the stage to continue. Take a listen, take a listen.
I have hope. I have to. That we can come to right relations with each other. You know? And if at least we're not in the same book, or at least we're on the same page. If we're not on the same page, or at least we're in the same book. I should get my anecdotes right. I just want to say this. Niga niang tpidahadman. Chewujgwabazite. Nitlayage. Thank you.
I was just shocked by, number one, how exorbitant the prices were, and number two, that the variety wasn't there.
So this corporate lawyer took matters into her own hands. More on the startup that lets expecting mothers rent out maternity wear next. Shopping for maternity wear can be difficult and expensive, so a new mom wanted to fix that, creating a company that rents out maternity wear. Lisa Shing has her story.
I'm Joyce Lim. I'm the founder of Sprout Collection.
Joyce Lim and her husband Josh curate maternity clothing from around the world and package items to ship out across Canada. Why did you found a company like this?
I'm a corporate lawyer by day, and so I was really struggling trying to find affordable but well-made and quality maternity wear that I could wear to work. And I was just shocked by, number one, how exorbitant the prices were, and number two, that the variety wasn't there.
Sprout Collection operates like a subscription service. Every month it ships up to 4 items to customers who can wear them and send them right back. The company handles the dry cleaning. Why did you want to focus on the rental market?
Why commit to something only for you to probably throw it away? And it's just going to pile up and contribute to more garbage, more waste. It's a drain on your personal resources. It's a drain also on the environment. For spring, we've got these really amazing lightweight coats by a local Canadian designer.
I liked the idea that it's like the concept of it being very green, so not buying things that you're only going to wear for a very short period of time and then not knowing what to do with them. Just having things that you know would be recycled. It felt good to be able to do that.
The Soon maternity overalls.
They're my favorite. I do live in them.
This is brilliant because I can just choose something new every month and not to have to invest in something that's so short term. A good quality pair of maternity jeans are at least $150. My subscription was 6 months, so I think my rate was like under $100.
A subscription runs between $99 and $140 a month.
Yeah, it's very hard to fold while holding Georgia.
As it nears its 1-year anniversary, Lim hopes to expand the service to clothing for all women.
It's been very, very encouraging to know that we're making a difference.
Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Our long winter is almost over. Spring is right around the corner. No, seriously, it is. Like this week. Colette's back after the break with a final look at your forecast. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Hey Alexa, ask
CBC to play me Radio 1.
Here is CBC Radio 1.
This is Metro Morning. I'm Matt Galloway.
Some home buyers in Whitby are learning firsthand how volatile the GTA housing market can be.
Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. We begin with a fast-breaking story at the Ontario Legislature.
CBC Toronto, just a click away.
I like this one. This is a good one. Well, dude, Batty got an awesome perspective of this lighthouse in Port Credit, and it's our show us your GTA picture of the day. Remember, get your photos to us by posting them on Twitter or Instagram with the hashtag CBCYourGTA, and we will air some of them on the show.
I like when our viewers get creative like that, you know?
And Mr. Batty got really creative with that one. I'm also liking, Ms. Colette, the fact that we're now above seasonal when we've spent so much time below seasonal for the last little while. It is about
We've
time.
paid our dues, I feel like, on this one. Yeah, and you know what? We have a system that's going to move through tonight, but it really is just something pretty weak. There's not much lift here or much moisture, so I'm just putting kind of a dusting, but I want you to know about it because if you wake up tomorrow, and there's white stuff on the ground, you're going to...
And we're going to complain
wonder.
Tomorrow at 6
there you
o'clock.
go.
Yes.
So -3 overnight tonight, and then tomorrow still a little bit of instability in the atmosphere. So 6 degrees for the high. That is a little bit above seasonal, but we could see passing shower, even a little bit of a mix through there is the potential in the midday to later afternoon hours. That's Tuesday, and then the next day, Wednesday, that's when we get to spring.
Yes, the official start of spring. And Saturday, I know it's early and these things change as we go through the week, but I like that 9 with the bright sunshine.
Yes.
Let's see if we can keep that one.
Okay, I'm going to do my best to hold on to that long forecast.
As you and I enjoy some March Madness. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6. Have a great evening, everybody.